No, but okay, right. None of them should have been there, right? But does that mean that any of those individuals has the right to kill any of the other individuals who are breaking curfew?
No, but that's not
So
what
what?
happened.
Well, it is. Kyle
No,
Rittenhouse killed
it's...
two people. Those
Yes,
people
who were
didn't kill him.
attacking him, not who were breaking curfew.
Who were defending themselves. Are they not allowed to defend themselves?
They were, again, he was the one running away.
He's the one that shot a person, and then a mob formed. Yeah.
After? Wait, why did he shoot? Kevin, do you even know why he shot the first person? I don't know if that's a very smart idea to just submit yourself to the goddamn mob.
Wasn't a very smart idea for him to go there in the first place.
Okay, do you realize that every time you... No, Kevin.
The main fucking point here, right?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Every time you say that, you
Hunter,
betray your lack of knowledge on this subject.
Okay, yeah. Sick burn, bro.
This...
Right,
No, it's not a burn. It's
true.
true.
Yes, I'm Kevin Logan. I'm a leftist from the UK who does terrible streaming. Hello there. Do you want to introduce yourself to my enormous audience?
Yeah, my name's Hunter Avalone. I'm a center-left SocDem, so I'm sure your chat absolutely loves people like me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation. I really wanted to just start this because off on just what you said with the debate with Destiny recently, where you more or less claimed that Kyle Rittenhouse was like a white supremacist murderer. Now, I strongly disagree with that. I believe that Kyle Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense. So I'm curious if you want to go ahead and kind of lay out your opinion here.
Yeah, well, again, you can remove the qualifier of more or less. I said outright, I think he's a white supremacist, and I think what he did counts as murder. Okay. Yes. My position would come down to the fact of, in terms of the white supremacy, let's sort of boil it down to the two core arguments. The white supremacy is obviously a mounted inference because I can't see inside someone's cranium. I don't know what literally is going on inside someone's head.
Sure.
But given that he's supported Blue Lives Matter, which is a direct response to Black Lives Matter, and I think has a certain amount of crossover with white supremacist tendencies, and the fact that he was seen pictured with taking pictures with and smiling and doing the OK hand symbol with the Proud Boys, who are, as far as I'm concerned, although some people seem to disagree, but as far as I'm concerned, are a white supremacist organisation. I think it's reasonable to infer that he might also have some white supremacist tendencies himself.
Okay.
And in terms of the murder charge, I would suggest that his defence of self-defence is negated somewhat by the fact that I think he, at least in part, has instigated the situation, at least in part by being there, and then secondly by playing weird fucking dress-up soldier, where he was pointing guns at people and being, frankly, a bit of a prick who didn't need to be there at all. And if you then retroactively add in the fact that there was the video from the week before with he was watching some rioting at a CVS and he said, "I wish I had my gun," or something like that, suggests to me that he had violent intent in going there in the first place. And I don't know necessarily that you can prove it in the court of law. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, with the case. But what I would suggest is that his having intent and going there and instigating the situation means that he has essentially drawn the situation upon himself, where he then reacts. And if you allow for a situation where someone can instigate a scenario by which they can plausibly claim self-defense when actually it was premeditated murder, you set a very, very bad precedent for people basically legalizing murder, which I think is a terrible step forward.
Sure. Well, I mean, of course, I would agree that's a bad precedent to set. I think that there's two really important things that we need to separate here right off the bat, which is murderer and white supremacy. So I know that your overall opinion of him is that he is a white supremacist murderer. Now, I'm happy to talk to you about that, but the white supremacist thing is ultimately, you impugning his character. And whether or not he is a white supremacist is actually kind of irrelevant to whether or not he was acting in self-defense or committed murder. Would you agree with that?
True. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so let's separate these then and start with just the murder thing, since that's currently what's being discussed, like, in court and everything else. So okay. I understand what you're saying about how he sort of instigated the situation by having the gun and playing dress-up soldier and whatnot, but I'm going to have to push back on that purely just from reading the Wisconsin law when it comes to self-defense. So I want to read you this because it mentions what happens if you provoke, right? So
Okay.
it does say that provocation affects the privilege of self-defense. Okay, so I want to read this to you because it sounds like it starts to support what you were saying, but then there's a qualifier on there that almost sounds like it's supporting what I'm saying. So it says,
Okay.
a person who engages in unlawful conduct of type likely to provoke others to attack him or her, and thereby does provoke an attack, is not entitled to claim the privilege of self-defense against such attack, except when the attack which ensues is a type causing the person engaging in the unlawful conduct to reasonably believe that he or she is in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm. So there's that one, but then it also goes down in clause B, the privilege lost by provocation may be regained if the actor in good faith withdraws from the fight and gives adequate notice thereof to his or her assailant. So what I would say is, don't you think that Kyle Rittenhouse running away and screaming friendly 3 times is acting in good faith to withdraw from that fight?
Well, I mean, good faith is an interesting one. It would have to be. It would have to depend on exactly how he'd acted prior to the incident, because I don't know if he'd necessarily instigated and retreated previously.
But it wouldn't
But
actually. Like it actually, like, according to Wisconsin law,
well,
it
he could
wouldn't.
to Wisconsin law, but that's not my contention. My contention is not under Wisconsin law he's definitely a murderer. I literally said in the debate itself, I don't know that you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, and that it's good that you have that standard, because putting someone away for a very long time in a prison should have a high standard to it. So I understand that it's not necessarily that they're going to get the murder charge. I think they'll probably get reckless endangerment, but regardless, it's not it's not absolutely definite that beyond a reasonable doubt that you can get that prosecution in a court of law. But I'm saying, from my perspective, if it's not possible to get that conviction under Wisconsin law, the problem is the law, not the fact that I'm absolutely convinced he is a murderer. Does that
Well,
make
you
sense?
kind of, like, I understand broadly speaking if you want to change the law or if you think the law is wrong or something, but I
Mm.
mean, if you call the dude a white supremacist murderer, like, you're implying that according to the law he is murdering, but like by him acting in self-defense, that's just not true. It kind of sounds like you're walking back what you originally
But
said.
you're presupposing you're presupposing self-defense, and I contend that it isn't self-defense, or that it shouldn't be.
No, I'm
Again,
not actually.
if
I'm literally getting on your level here. Even if he initially provoked people to get
mm,
angry and then he tried to withdraw from the fight in good faith, he still has a right to self-defense there. So I'm saying that the way that he acted by running away and by shouting friendly 3 times before hearing a gunshot behind him that he then turns around and shoots at someone going for his gun, it seems like
okay,
self-defense.
but in this is, I think, one of the core problems I have with people who have defended him. I'm not saying you necessarily in this regard,
No, I'm
but
defending him in this
uh,
instance. Sure. Yes.
no,
I
no, you
think that
are,
he was
no, you
acting in
are,
self defense. I think he's an idiot, by the way, for going
yeah,
there, but I think he was
yeah.
ultimately acting in self defense.
No, when I meant not you specifically, I meant the point I'm about to incur. I don't know if you necessarily agree with it. I was just sort of caveating it, so I'm not attacking you necessarily.
Yeah,
Anyway,
sure.
the point is, people are quite rightly, I suppose, given that he's on trial, have talked about the self-defense rights of Kyle Rittenhouse, and I think it's important to talk about the self-defense rights of the people who are dead, and indeed the guy who is had his arm mangled. In the situation where, even if someone instigates a situation, they are a physical threat to you, and they have a gun which can shoot over significant distances, the fact that he then runs away a certain amount, for me, doesn't negate the fact that he is still a significant threat to
But
your
he
life.
also shouted friendly 3 times.
Okay, but I mean, anyone can shout friendly. I don't give a fuck if you're shouting friendly. The
Yeah,
fact
but
that you've
then
got a gun, suggests you might not be entirely friendly.
okay, but when you say what about the other people's right to act in self-defense, they
Hmm.
weren't being attacked. Kyle was running away and they were chasing him.
He'd been pointing his gun previously in the night. I don't know if they'd necessarily seen that. I can never know that. Again, I'm not saying in a court of law I could
Yeah,
prove
there's it's
that was the case.
disputed, of course, if he pointed
But
his
yeah,
gun at someone before or not. But I
exactly.
would
But my
literally
point
be
is,
willing to say that even if that's ultimately true, he
mm,
still ultimately withdrew from that fight. He ran away. Like every time he shot, he either was being chased after yelling friendly or was on the
mm,
ground and
yeah.
either had a gun pointed in his direction, which the dude admitted in court under oath, or he was getting beat over the head with a fucking skateboard. Like every time, it seems like it was a pretty clear-cut example of
Okay, but
self-defense. When you say
my point.
what about the other people's right to self-defense? Like
Hmm.
they didn't have a right to self-defense because they weren't being attacked.
Well, again, I would argue that they had been. Well, again, whether he'd pointed the gun in this particular instance or not, I don't know. And we never will know. And again, that's possibly why he might well get off on this, certainly on the murder charge. But the point is, he went there with a gun, open carrying. That instantly means he's a threat. That for me
That's
is a
just
threat.
incorrect also. Like I can understand that he could be perceived as a threat, sure, but then
Yeah.
you could just as easily make that argument about other people that are there being perceived threats, watching them smash windows, break shit. Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't have been there, that's true, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, none of them should have been there, right? They were all
Oh,
breaking
no,
curfew.
absolutely. Well, they all were breaking curfew, but it doesn't mean we get to have 17-year-old Judge Dredd running around shooting people.
Well, I
He's not.
agree. Well,
He's not the
hold on. I
executioner of
agree
motherfuckers.
with that. That's a bit of a
Yeah.
stretch. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't want that to be like the norm. But again, the gun charge was even dropped. They're just
Mm.
when you say the
Yeah.
word
The gun
murder,
charge.
I don't know.
No,
I'm not trying to
the
get
gun
super like
charge was.
pedantic, but usually like
Yeah.
if you call someone a murderer, like that's referring to like an unlawful killing. And like if you
Mm.
actually want to refer to the law, this looks like pretty clear-cut example of self-defense in all three instances.
Well, I don't think it's a clear-cut case of self-defense, and even the judge admitted to that on Friday. He went forward with allowing the jury to consider the concept that I'm outlining, which the prosecution outlined as well, of negation of self-defense on the basis of provocation. We'll have to wait and see if that actually comes forward. But again, my point isn't that necessarily that he didn't do murder under the law, or that he did do murder under the law. Sorry, it's that the law should encompass this as murder. And I think actually the point you raised there about the gun charge being dropped, I think is really important because it wasn't dropped because he didn't commit a crime under any reasonable gun right law. It was that the law was written so vaguely and poorly that it couldn't be assessed in this instance. So actually, it was the legislation which was wrong.
Sure. So let me go back to what you said before, which was this shouldn't be like allowed. I'm wondering where do you have like a specific line there of where you would set those standards? Because I'm pretty sure I could give you a hypothetical situation where someone like a woman might break the law and put herself in a situation where then she gets attacked, and I believe that she has a right to self-defense. Like,
Mm.
and what line do you draw there when it comes to provocation?
Well, it's impossible to draw an absolute line, and this is why we have court cases, for instance, and this is actually why I think the right wing's
Well, yeah, but
response
that's not
is
really a fair thing when you're saying that you're not
of
happy with the
saying that.
laws, right?
Well, no, for a start, I'm not a legislator, so I don't even know how you would word a law to encompass the things that I think are murder and I don't. Again, I'm not making some sort of sweeping claim to be an expert in this. I literally said in the discussion that I'm not a Wisconsin law expert, and neither is anyone else there.
Sure.
On the panel because ultimately I don't know exactly where I would draw the line on any of these individual instances, but I know I can look at a situation and think to myself, this feels like that should be encompassed within inside the law. Now again, it's
Yeah, this sounds like a really feelings-based thing. I want to lay out an example for you, but I want to
in
add,
an,
but like, let's say,
in an adversarial legal system, it's not going to be the case where you're going to get a prosecution in every instance where I personally think you should always get a prosecution, because that's not how it works, obviously. And the bar for evidence is very high, and we have incomplete evidence in this case, as we do in basically every case.
sure. So if I want to lay out an example for you. Like, let's say, like, I don't know, there's a curfew set, right? They say, hey, you're not allowed out past this time, okay?
Yeah.
And then a woman goes out, she breaks the law, she's breaking curfew, and then someone else is out there also breaking curfew, and they come up, they say something to her, and then she says, fuck you, I have a weapon in my purse, I'm not afraid to use it. And then that person charges her and tries to rape her, and so she pulls her weapon out and shoots the guy. Do you think that that would be self-defense?
Firstly, I think it's very interesting you went to a rape analogy straight away.
Well,
That's
it's the
like
most
some
extreme. No,
some
the most
premium debate bro activity.
It's
there, I
not
like it.
actually debate, bro. Anything. It's just that the most extreme examples is what's best to test the logic.
Well, I would argue that you could have just stuck with a murdered thing, because murder's pretty fucking extreme. So, but it doesn't matter, right? Okay, let's put it in that situation. Okay. Firstly, I contend the concept that outside of natural disasters that you would need a curfew situation that's tolerable in many respects, because even in cases of riot, I understand why the authorities want it there, but essentially you're saying you're allowed to protest until we arbitrarily decide and geographically locate it that you can't. That's handing over quite a lot of power to the government that I'm not entirely happy with. So, but secondly, that's more of a personal thing, right? You say if someone breaks curfew, I don't know why the curfew would necessarily be a problem in the instance that you're giving there.
Because they're violating the law in the process, and then they provoke by telling the person to fuck off.
Okay.
And telling them they have a weapon or something.
Okay, well, that's warning them for a start off, so I don't know that that's necessarily an issue either. Also, I don't know. Okay. That's such a weird analogy because there's no situation in which.
Like, that's obviously self-defense.
Response. Whereas, in theory, you could be. Like, if I take Kyle Rittenhouse's, frankly, excuse that he's there to protect property, that would at least in theory be vaguely viable as an excuse to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas neither of the other people have necessarily a reason to be there. So it's not even an analogous situation.
I mean, that sounds like you're wanting more qualifiers to it, maybe. But at the end of the day, I just think all I'm really trying to do here is just show how when you say something like this kind of thing feels like it should be illegal, well, in a similar situation where it doesn't feel like it should be illegal, it's way harder to make that conclusion or draw that line. So I just think that, like, if you're going to, I just think that if you ultimately look at the situation with what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse compared to the hypothetical I laid out, they're both instances of self-defense, even in circumstances where there may have been some provocation. And again, I still am going to keep on defaulting back to the Wisconsin law just because it very clearly explains how if you withdraw from the fight, you're acting in good faith to get away from that fight, and then you regain your right to self-defense.
Okay, here's a hypothetical. Now, I can't prove that Kyle Rittenhouse did this, so let's just say a person in the situation Rittenhouse was in. How many times so let's say, for instance, he provokes you, then runs away. Then he provokes you and runs away, and provokes you and runs away, all while having a high-powered rifle that he could shoot you from double the distance he's away when he retreats. So he's still potentially a threat to you. How many times do you allow him to fuck with you before you're allowed to defend yourself and not be killed?
But this is disanalogous entirely because you don't really have much evidence that Kyle. You have no evidence that Kyle Rittenhouse was going around fucking with people the entire night. There's way more evidence. There's more evidence. Wait, there's more evidence that Joseph Rosenbaum was going around fucking with people all night, right?
Probably, but I don't know why you need to feel the need to smear like the victim.
I'm not trying to smear anyone. I'm just trying to explain that the dude that actually attacked Kyle, that Kyle defended himself against, had already been acting violently throughout the entire night. That's the only reason I was bringing that up.
Okay. I mean, okay.
But the analogy you're giving,
I can just say that doesn't mean he gets to like kill him.
But no, but the analogy that you're giving me is...
No, I was just giving you a hypothetical. I was just giving you
the hypothetical you're giving me is Kyle Rittenhouse going around fucking with people and provoking them. That's not what happened.
I specifically fucking said a person that was in that scenario. I was giving you an example whereby this exact set of circumstances that we know of could occur, but there's a wider panoply of evidence, which we don't have in this instance, but would be a continued case of provocation all the time. I was just giving, this is just a thought experiment. I'm not even saying this applies to Kyle Rittenhouse because I don't know that he did this. But I'm just saying there are situations in which the concept of self-defense can be abused by bad faith actors.
Okay, I agree with that. Absolutely, yes. However, I'm just not sure what the point of bringing that hypothetical up is, considering the fact that
I don't know why you're bringing up a fucking rape.
No, I'm bringing that up because the claim that you made is that this feels like it should be illegal, and I'm giving you an example where something similar could happen that it suddenly doesn't feel like it should be illegal. That was the example for that. You're giving me a hypothetical that doesn't compare at all to Rittenhouse.
I would suggest that a person trying to rape anyone.
If Kyle Rittenhouse was going around pointing his gun at people all night long and like, hey, get over here, dude, I've got a gun, stay away from me, bitch, or whatever, then yeah, that might not be self-defense. But based on the evidence that we have and that's been presented to the court, That's not what happened. Again, I'm going to keep on going back to how in all three instances, Kyle Rittenhouse was either running away shouting friendly, was on the ground and had already been hit over the head at one point, and then the dude had a gun on him at the last point.
After he shoots the first person, is everyone else supposed to still think that he's being friendly and go, okay, well, he's
Wasn't he
retreating.
trying to go to the police?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know why we're giving not Hunter Raffler. I don't know why we're giving Kyle Rittenhouse the benefit of the doubt of, well, he was acting in a high tension situation, and we can't necessarily say he should have waited for this or waited for that. But the other people are supposed to go, well, he's shouting friendly and running towards the police, so he's clearly no threat, even though he's just killed a person. We just saw him kill a person. He's clearly no threat to us. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but again, he was running away. So let's go back through the timeline of events.
He's running away with a gun that he can shoot.
Yes, after no. First, he yelled friendly at Rosenbaum. That was the first person he shot. He yelled friendly 3 times. Rosenbaum continued to run at him. Rosenbaum allegedly had already been threatening to kill him throughout the night and then was running at him, was inches away, or at least within arm's reach away from his gun when Kyle Rittenhouse shot him. That was the first instance. After that, a mob began forming and they all start screaming, "Get him." Not all of them, but there were screams about, "Get him!" What should he have done there? He turned around and he ran. It wasn't like he started open firing on the mob. He tried to,
shouldn't have been
but he was there, and whether or not he should or shouldn't have been there is not going to play a role in the ultimate decision of whether or not he was.
You find out.
No,
that's the fucking principle.
You're backtracking so hardcore right now. You're saying that he shouldn't have been there. Yes, duh. Everybody fucking knows that. I know that. Of course he shouldn't have been there, but that's not ultimately going to hold any weight when making the decision about self-defense. It's not.
Well, I mean, again, we'll have to wait and see. The judge has at least, like I say, allowed the jury to consider that possibility. So we'll wait and see on.
We will, and also I'll say too that I will respect the decision the jury comes to, no matter what it is. I'll respect it, and if they rule that he provoked it or whatever, then I'll be wrong.
You're giving more generosity than the defense, because they've applied for a second mistrial now. So I mean, they clearly don't feel particularly happy about the situation. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but they don't seem particularly confident, is what I would suggest.
But again, it just, I'd like to go back to, like, the facts of the matter of what happened that night. Like, there was a mob that formed around him after he had just shot somebody in self-defense. A mob starts forming. A couple people start...
self-defense. It's always, you presuppose self-defense in that situation.
Based on all the evidence we have available, yes, I'm arguing my position that it's self-defense. The dude was running at him after Kyle Rittenhouse ran away and tried to say friendly 3 times. Then after this... He shot the dude. The dude dies, and then a mob forms and starts screaming, "Get him!" What should he have done? Should he have gotten down on his knees and just, like, surrendered to the mob? I don't think that's a very smart idea. Instead, he turned around and he ran. He tried to go away to the police. Now, in hindsight, was that the best decision? I don't know, but poor judgment is not a fucking crime. There was no actual crime.
Actually, most crimes come down to your lack of
but
judgment.
Purely having a poor judgment is not enough of a crime. So him running away from an angry mob, him running away from he didn't. No,
he was around a mob. Okay, he shouldn't have been near the fucking.
Then you can make the same argument for Joseph Rosenbaum, because he broke curfew and went there when he shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and he paid his fucking price.
But you wouldn't make that argument about Joseph Rosenbaum. You wouldn't make that argument about Joseph Rosenbaum.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's not on trial. He's dead.
Okay. Hypothetically, Kevin, you wouldn't make that argument.
Hypothetically means fucking jack shit, doesn't it? I thought we were dealing with the facts of the situation. He's dead. He's paid the price for his mistakes.
Okay, whether or not he should be there does not change the fact. It does not negate whether or not he was acting in self-defense. And so if someone is running at your gun and you shoot them, and then there's a mob forming and they start screaming, "Get him," it kind of makes sense that you would probably want to run, considering an angry mob from a group of people, or considering that Kenosha had been, being like rioted and there was a fuck ton of damage and violence that had been occurring for the last 2 nights. I don't know if that's a very smart idea to just submit yourself to the goddamn mob.
Wasn't a very smart idea for him to go there in the first place.
Okay, do you realize that every time you... No, Kevin.
The main fucking point here, right?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Every time you say that, you
Hunter,
betray your lack of knowledge on this subject.
Okay, yeah. Sick burn, bro.
This no, it's not a burn. It's true.
Would you at least admit, even if you want to contest the murder charge, which again I don't think is necessarily open and shut or anything, but would you at least admit that he surely must be found guilty on reckless endangerment of life?
Well, honestly,
Sure.
I don't know if you can be charged with reckless endangerment if you are acting in self-defense. I don't know if they can.
No, he's already been charged with it. That's one. Of
Oh,
the
I'm
charges.
sorry, convicted. My bad. I misspoke
okay,
there.
yeah.
Convicted.
Okay.
I don't know if he could be convicted. We'll have to wait and see. But every time you say, "Well, he shouldn't have been there," it sounds like you're walking back or don't have an argument to make. We agree on this. We are both in
the wider context. The wider context.
the wider context is none of them should have been there. This is an irrelevant point.
No, but okay, right. None of them should have been there, right? But does that mean that any of those individuals has the right to kill any of the other individuals who are breaking curfew?
No, but that's not
So
what
what
happened.
Well, it is. Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people. Those
Yes,
people
who
didn't
were
kill
attacking him, not who were breaking curfew.
Who were defending themselves. Are they not allowed to defend themselves?
They were, again, he was the one running away.
He's the one that shot a person, and then a mob formed. Yeah.
After?
I think
Why,
that's
wait, why did he
defending
shoot?
themselves.
Kevin, do you even know why he shot the first person?
Because he was being chased by that one person, wasn't he?
Yes. So how is the
Yeah,
dude
but is
chasing
the
the
rest of
guy
that-
running away,
Is
screaming?
the rest of that crowd supposed to have seen everything, even though it's dark?
No,
Are they supposed to
I'm
know
not saying.
completely? Oh, actually,
He
was it
didn't
just
start
by
open
killing
firing on the
one?
mob. He turned around and ran away to go report himself to the police. And then he got attacked by another dude who beat him over the head with a skateboard before someone else pulled a gun on him and pointed at him and started moving towards him. And it wasn't until then that Kyle shot, and that was the third guy who said that under oath. Like,
Okay, all right. But my point is,
So
those people, I think, are entitled to their self-defense as well.
yeah, but that's the problem is you're just you're just assuming Kyle's a threat, even though he wasn't. He only
He's open carrying. That is instantly a threat. He's just shot
yeah.
someone.
See, I would
That is a
disagree
threat.
hardcore with this.
That is a threat.
No, just if so, listen, I can understand again the misconception that the mob may have had, but ultimately, what it's going to come down to was, did he act in self-defense? And in every fucking instance, he did. First, the dude ran for him, nearly grabbed his gun, he shot him. An angry mob screaming, "Get him!" and he's running the fuck away? He didn't start open firing into the mob of people. He ran away and then got attacked more, and someone pulled a fucking gun on him. Like, you say that these other people had a right to defend themselves, but like, defend themselves from what? The dude running away?
The active shooter situation that they must have perceived around them, yeah. I would suggest that is a perfectly reasonable assumption in the situation, yes. I don't think that's out of the question. Just because he's moving away from you, he still has a gun that can shoot you from the distance he is away from you.
I just
So
don't...
how do you know that he isn't just an active shooter situation? Are they supposed to just assume
I recognize
that's
that that they couldn't possibly know that, but I think that we would also have to somewhat acknowledge that it's sort of stupid to charge at someone you believe is being an active shooter. I think that that's really irrational also. But again, when you're getting chased by a guy...
Hang on, but okay, right, so you say that you can't, that bad decision-making isn't, like, illegal or whatever. Does bad decision-making mean that it's fine for you to then get shot because you've made a bad decision that he's an active shooter?
No, but that's, again, not why they were
He
shot. Every
instigated
hypothetical
this
you're throwing
entire
at me
fucking
doesn't
thing.
compare.
You brought up a rape analogy. What the fuck? You don't get to talk about this.
That compared, and I still have...
Right.
I've explained like 3 times why that compared, and I don't know, everyone on my end seems to get it, but you keep giving me things that are just not comparable to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Okay.
You're not giving me anything that you're not explaining anything as to why Kyle Rittenhouse, like, the hypotheticals you're laying out are disanalogous.
Under the law, he might not be guilty, but again, I would bring that back to the fact that the law is wrong rather than he didn't do murder. And
Okay.
again, I can't prove it one way or the other because I'm not a fucking Wisconsin law expert. Well, we'll have to
Yeah,
wait
but
and see what the
if you're
jury
gonna
are,
but you say you can't prove it now, but like, You seemed okay making
No,
the
I said,
claim a
no, no,
couple
no, no.
different
I said,
times, right?
no. A couple of days ago, I literally said the same. Under Wisconsin law, I can't necessarily prove that that's the case because
Okay,
I'm
well,
not
I
a
think under
Wisconsin law
Wisconsin law,
expert.
based on, I mean, yeah, it's true that I'm not a legal expert, but it is available to read here from legislator.wisconsin.gov, and you can read about how he can regain his privilege of self-defense if he's withdrawing from the fight in good faith. So I don't think that it's murder,
Okay,
and
but
I'm not
you're
even
happy
sure
to
you
give
could
him
infer that it's murder.
you're happy to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was good faith. Okay.
Well, no, no,
I
no.
mean, that's
It's
an
wait, no, no.
interesting
That's
one.
not the benefit of the doubt. It's that we have a literal video of him running the fuck away and
That
multiple
doesn't mean
witnesses
any.
saying that he shouted friendly.
Okay, again, the fact that he said friendly, like people can lie.
He
You're
was
aware of
he
that
was running
concept,
away
yeah?
from Rosenbaum before he shot Rosenbaum. He is
Right.
trying to withdraw
He,
from the
I
fight
would
there.
argue he went there, given the CBS video that wasn't allowed to be added into evidence, wasn't allowed to be presented
Yeah,
in the
and
case.
you know why it wasn't added in there, right? Is because although it's true that
Because the judge
impugns
just
his,
claimed, yeah.
I agree that it impugns his character, but it
Mm.
doesn't negate the fact that he was acting in self-defense. That's why it was
But I
thrown
would
out.
argue it shows pretty, not necessarily conclusively, but as close to conclusively as you can realistically get, that he had violent intent with it in his heart when before he travelled there.
That's
This was
so
before this whole
bullshit, dude.
situation
It's just
happened. He went there. He wasn't he wasn't asked to go there and defend any property. He decided to go there. He had previously expressed violent intent towards people who were rioting.
I thought those
Put
were
himself in a
shoplifters,
situation.
actually, not rioters, first of all. Second
Okay,
of all,
well,
I'm pretty
whatever.
sure that it was like,
I,
have you ever like hung out with a 17-year-old kid? Again, like, I recognize that that's a stupid thing for him to say, but I'm pretty sure the dude didn't think that video was going to be like brought up all of a sudden when he was like, being reported on by the national media, right? So
Right,
17-year-olds say a lot of dumb shit. Now again,
yeah.
I talked about this on my video. I agree that that looks bad, and it does go to his character. It does give me doubts that this kid probably isn't a great guy. He probably is far right or leans right, especially after the fact. We'll get to that in a second, though. But again, that is irrelevant to whether or not he acted in self-defense. Even if he hypothetically wanted to be there, you opened this thing by telling me that you can't read minds. So whether or not he wanted to be there, he was attacked, and then he acted in self-defense after withdrawing in good faith from the fight.
I don't think you can assume he was withdrawing in good faith. And like I say, I think given the wider context of the information that wasn't allowed to be shown at the trial, I think it's not a terribly massive jump of logic here to think that he was a violent, hopped up idiot who wanted to play toy soldiers, and he fucked around. And other people found out, and he's probably going to walk, and that's a fucking tragedy.
I just don't think you understand how you're like, you keep bringing in his character when again, like, you realize that even if he was you realize that
context.
You realize that even if he was actually like a full-on white supremacist, and then he was attacked and defended himself, and then
time out. We agreed that the white supremacy wasn't necessarily factored into the murder. So I don't know what the fact that we'll get to my claim about him being a white supremacist. That's got nothing to do with him being a murderer. Especially because he killed
especially because he's not a murderer, right? Like by definition. So
no, not by no. What do you mean by definition? Why would they have taken
murder implies intent, and it also implies unlawful. Both things that Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have.
Wang, so you know better than what the jurors who are still fucking doing, who still literally haven't decided on this?
No, I can read. I'm
reading
reading the law, and again, an unlawful killing doesn't fall in line here with Wisconsin self-defense law. So it's not. You should call it a killing. Call it a killing. It was a kill. It was killings. He was involved in.
Hunter, do you want me to be nice and politically correct? Should I create a fucking safe space for Kyle Rittenhouse now?
No, I don't want you to be politically correct. Wait. This isn't asking you to be politically correct. This is actually asking you to just have like a basic level of accuracy when reporting this.
Nicer to the killer, please. Can you be nicer to the guy who shot 2 people dead?
Can you be nicer to the guy who was defending himself?
From
the child rapist, please? Like, come on, we can do this both ways.
Talk about impugning people's fucking. Because Kyle Rittenhouse knew he was a pedophile today.
Hold on. You
And
can't get wait. You can't get mad at me
me.
for impugning Rosenbaum's character when the entire time you've been trying to impugn Kyle's character. Plus, I was only making a little jab. Okay,
Because
so
Rosenbaum is dead. His character means nothing.
I don't see us getting
It
anywhere.
means nothing.
I don't really see us getting anywhere further in this. It just seems that you're kind of set in your ways and you're not really willing to look at some of
Well, the
this
fact that you
information I'm
came
giving
into
you.
it, you are literally saying, I am saying, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, or I'm not going to make that determination for the court.
You're walking
saying
back
it
again.
definitely wasn't murder. It definitely wasn't
You
murder.
are literally
because
walking
I know
back
more
again.
I know more than the court. I
You're
know more than
calling
this
it
guy.
murder in this call, and then when I get mad at you for that, you're like, no, I said I didn't know.
I have my own fucking standards. I'm not the. I don't know if you under the assumption that I am actually the law of Wisconsin.
Wait, didn't you just make fun
I'm
of
not.
me for needing a safe space, or Kyle Rittenhouse for needing a safe space, and now it sounds like you're making up different definitions for words. So
He does need a
murder
safe
means unlawful intent killing.
He also needs some fucking acting lessons because that attempt at crying was embarrassing. I'm just saying.
So another massive pivot off to his character.
Yeah, he's a terrible character. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so why don't... Yikes. I don't think we're going to get to... I don't know how much further we're going to be able to get into this, Kevin. You seem to be Yikes. All right, let's go let's go ahead and move on to the second part. So
Okay.
you realize that he was part of the police cadets since a child. So like
Yeah.
him supporting Blue Lives Matter, although I think we could argue is pretty, dumb. I don't support Blue Lives Matter myself. I think that it's quite a stretch to be like, this makes him a white supremacist.
No. It's trying to build a case, as it were. There are two main strands to it: the support for Blue Lives Matter and the fact that and again, this is his mother, so it's not him. But I think he clearly takes after her and sees her as something of a role model in his life. I mean, she literally was the person who dropped him off there and with a gun and all the rest of it. She seems pretty fucking wacky out there, right wing. I don't think when you add that to the police cadet thing and the Blue Lives Matter thing and his very, very chummy fucking meeting in the bar with the Proud Boys, I don't think, again, it's a massive leap of faith to think actually he might have some problematic views when it comes to matters of race.
Sure. So I guess I would ask for a further clarifier here, which is, do you recognize there's a difference between like what he did after the shooting and what he did before? So as far as him like being with the Proud Boys, I will say right here, right now, that is bad. That was fucking stupid. And it absolutely casts doubt on his character. And I think that him hanging out, being chummy with the Proud Boys is probably your best evidence that he might lean towards like racist ideas, or at the very least is, like you said, chummy with this far-right white supremacist group. I think that that is a fair inference there. Okay, so I think that we can come to some common ground there, but it's the before the shooting stuff that I think we keep disagreeing on. And this is why I blocked you temporarily on Twitter. I don't even know if you noticed, but it was after you, it was after I blocked you because you made me so mad when you said that Kyle Rittenhouse was still a far right asshole or something beforehand. And your only example again was the Blue Lives Matter thing. Like supporting Blue Lives Matter does not mean you're a white fucking supremacist. That is a stretch.
It doesn't necessarily mean that. I would argue there is a relatively strong correlation in my own experience.
No.
I haven't asked every Blue Lives Matter supporter, but in my experience, those who have like the fucking Punisher blue fucking stripe, fucking
that's
avatar.
Like QAnon stuff. That's a little different, right?
Being like, well, okay, but people who generally like say Blue Lives Matter and support that Punisher generally have some pretty fucked up views when it comes to matters of race.
So do you think it's possible that there's someone who says
it's a continuation? It's a continuation, right? He's okay. It's possible that he was like the wokest motherfucker ever, shot two people, and then became a white supremacist. That's in theory.
I'm not even saying that necessarily. I just think that I just think that
relatively...
when you make claims like he supported Blue Lives Matter and was part of the police cadets, and then you use that to sort of infer like white supremacist tendencies from the dude, I think that you're making a massive leap there, and you're making the left look really bad.
Well, I mean,
like that's absurd. Like, do you think that it's possible that maybe there is someone who served in the police cadets as a child, has a really good opinion of the police, right? And then maybe they've been given wrong information that Black Lives Matter is all anti-police. And so they have this, they're under the impression, a wrong impression, but still they're under the impression, right? They, just like the perceived mob, the mob perceived danger, maybe he perceived that the cops were being like, you know, oppressed or targeted by the media. So he posted Blue Lives Matter to say, hey, I support the police. Do you think it's possible that anyone could post Blue Lives Matter and just not be a white supremacist? Maybe they just don't have all the information?
It is. No, it is absolutely possible. But my question to you would be, if as I think you conceded, that him hanging around with the Proud Boys now means that he probably has some white supremacist leanings now, I think, would you concede that point?
I mean, he's I would be willing to concede that he's absolutely chummy with white supremacists.
Okay. So what changed between, like, I don't know, earlier this year or whenever that picture was taken? Oh, before.
I mean, if we want to be honest,
now?
like, I don't think this is a really good argument, and I don't think getting criticism is an excuse to go radical, but like, he was maligned pretty hardcore by some of those on the left, and so he was probably pretty happy to be embraced by people that supported him. That is a guess, okay? I don't know. I don't know either. It's possible.
Shit, man.
Okay.
That's
You're not
really
here. Wait.
Like
Are you being ironic right now? Accusing me of weak shit? You're trying to infer the dude was a white supremacist because he posted Blue Lives Matter. You want to talk about weak shit, buddy? Let's talk about your argument right here.
I'm suggesting that there's a continuation. I'm suggesting that he didn't like do a 180 and think, the left have been rude to me. I used to like black people, but now fuck black people is ridiculous. That's some really, really weak source.
Sure. So don't you think a stronger argument would just be that maybe he was far right or right wing?
Conservative America. What? It's everyone else's fault. He's now racist. Look,
No. Wait. Hold on. Whoa, Kevin. I said that I don't think that's a strong argument, but you asked what changed. And if we want to be honest, what changed? Well, he was maligned by one side, and he wasn't maligned nearly as much by another. That's what changed between those times. Not a good reason, but you asked me, so I answered the question. However, when you... Yes, but the reason I blocked you originally was because you said he's always been a right-wing asshole or a far-right asshole or something. And then when I asked you why, you said he posted Blue Lives Matter. Like, do you realize how dumb that sounds?
Can I just say, there's no need to block me.
I had to block you. I got too mad. I'm sorry. I unblocked you after a little while. I had to go outside, touch some grass, and then afterwards I was good.
Yeah, it's internet nonsense. Neither of us are going to have any fucking say in this whatsoever. There's no point blocking anyone. I don't block. Look, I love.
But you have a say in what other people think. See, I think that you're underestimating your influence. Like, I know you made a joke about having a small audience at the beginning, but like, I don't have a very large audience, at least on Twitch yet either. Like, but you still have influence over people that watch you. And when you just throw around this term like white supremacist or murderer, and it's because he was police cadets and posted Blue Lives Matter, like,
again, stop fucking strawmanning my argument.
That is literally what you said.
No. Right. Okay, well, if I misspoke on Twitter or something, I apologize. I was trying to draw a string of like concepts here with him, right?
I understand that you're saying it's a continuation.
And I'm not saying it's even necessarily his fault initially, because I think his mother, being a prick, raised him to be a prick as well. I don't necessarily think it's entirely his fault from the get-go, okay? But
so why didn't you just call the guy a prick? Why don't you just call him a right-wing prick?
I've also called him a prick.
Like, if the whole time you were like, yeah, I think he's like a right-wing prick, and that was it, and you were like, well, he posted Blue Lives Matter, he seemed like he was in major support of the police, and then afterwards he was chilling with the Proud Boys. Do you realize that would have been actually a much stronger claim than he's a white supremacist, Blue Lives Matter? Like, what if there's someone who over here that's like, hey, I'm actually cool with, worker co-ops. I don't like the way that my boss is treating me. I wish that I could be part of, more part of the left, where they have these ideas, but I also kind of support the police. And then we have these people over here that would call you a fucking white supremacist, or try to infer that you're a white supremacist because you were part of the police cadets and then posted Blue Lives Matter.
There's a difference between just posting Blue Lives Matter and posting Blue Lives Matter, going to not technically, I suppose, a counter protest, but countering a situation where Black Lives Matter are seen as a significant part of what's going on, and then killing some people.
No, but he wasn't there to counter. Wait, what the inference of what you're saying right now is that he went there to counter the Black Lives Matter protests. That's what it sounds like you're inferring right now. And
No, no,
unless
no.
you're going to,
You're there to counter the people that were there, and it was seen and portrayed, as you said, rightly or wrongly, as Black Lives Matter rioting. So
okay,
he was
it
there as an
was rightly
opponent
seen
to
that way,
what was
actually.
going
So
on.
there had been the last 2 days, there had been constant rioting, burning, looting, and I know the
No, no,
city it's
rioting, but specifically Black Lives Matter rioting was how it was portrayed in certain
okay,
parts of the
well, whether
media.
or not it was portrayed that way doesn't
Yeah.
make him a white supremacist for necessarily going there. And
No,
again,
no,
it
but
seems
that was the
like you're walking this
juxtaposition.
back, but it still
That was the
seems like you're
juxtaposition.
inferring that he was there to counter. Are you inferring that he is there to
I was,
counter
I was
Black Lives Matter protests?
No, no, no. I was juxtaposing your example of a random person who's into worker co-ops, but also the police, with the fact that that person had not gone to a riotous situation where Black Lives Matter were being portrayed as the perpetrators and then killed someone. That person hadn't done that, so I wouldn't necessarily react in the way that I do to Kyle Rittenhouse to this hypothetical other potential leftist ally who also likes the police.
I
Was the
honestly
point
am
I
not
was
sure
making.
what you just said, if I'm being fair.
Okay, I was just juxtaposing Carl Rittenhouse's situation with the example you gave of the hypothetical leftist and saying that they're two different things and I would react therefore two different ways. So
Okay.
I would hope I wouldn't alienate the potential leftist ally because I wouldn't call that person a murderer
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't murder anyone or even kill anyone.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I don't understand. Like, so the riots were being portrayed as riots done by Black Lives Matter. And
Yes.
so him going to counter that adds to your argument that he's a white supremacist?
No, it adds to no. Right, it adds to the argument that he's like more than just saying Blue Lives Matter because I support the police. He's taking it to a very visceral level. He's taken it to a further level, far beyond just posting on Facebook some boomer meme about the fucking Punisher logo or something. Like he's taking it to a very different place, and that's why I would react differently to him than I would to, you know, your boomer granddad fucking posting support for the police or whatever. Because those are two different situations.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but it ultimately just sounds like
It's
yeah,
like it comes down to different things are different, basically, you know.
well, yeah, I mean that's maybe oversimplifying it a little bit. It just seems like I mean I know that you don't buy that he was there to protect property, but
Hmm.
it still sounds to me
It
like
would
the
be
infer.
very different. It would be very different if he would been asked to be there. If someone if the business owner or the police or some I don't know whatever would ask him to be there, that would be
Mm-hmm.
different. But he chose of his own volition to go and do that. Now, okay, he wasn't 18, so you could argue he's a child. Is he necessarily even culpable in that situation? Apparently, he's under Wisconsin law, so we'll whatever. But morally speaking, is he culpable? I don't know. That's I suppose a conversation people can have. But he chose of his own volition to go and do that. No one either forced him or even asked him to do that. He did that,
Sure,
and I
but
think that's why
I don't think that it's
that's
helping
the
your
context that
argument,
matters.
but I don't think it's helping your ultimate argument, which is stringing together pieces to try and strengthen your claim that he is a white supremacist. And part of that you're now telling
Oh,
me is that
it's
he
partly
not
influence.
only posted Blue Lives Matter, but he also posted Blue Lives Matter and then went to an event or went to
Yeah,
Kenosha while there were riots going on. Like the
yeah.
guy was there opposing property damage. There's no actual history of him actually doing anything racist other than the Proud Boys thing, of course. But before the shooting,
But
like I'm
and that
not really
gives you
sure what your
that.
argument is because he
But
posted Blue Lives
that's the
Matter.
point.
Wait,
That's the
wait.
point.
But don't
No,
you realize like
if you
it's
say
a stronger
it
argument here
happened
because
afterwards,
hold on really
but
quick. If
yeah,
if he's posting Blue Lives Matter, isn't that just more of an argument why he would want and he was also a police cadet. Isn't that just
yeah,
more of an argument as to why he would want to like take up arms and try to defend his community or whatnot? That almost sounds
yeah.
like it plays
He was a larpy dipshit. Yeah, yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
but doesn't that play into the argument far more that he was there to defend property and not some racist intent, some white supremacist?
No, no, I'm not even saying he was necessarily there with racist intent. I'm saying he was there with violent intent, absolutely. And I'm saying I think he was also a racist based on the fact that yes, it happened after the shooting took place, but I don't think, even with the reaction he's had, I don't think it's a reasonable or even acceptable excuse to say the left have been very bad to him, which they have, and I think I would argue rightly, but regardless,
We're starting
I
the
don't think
loop
it's.
because I already agree
Yeah,
with
I don't
this.
think it's okay for him to then say, "Well, I used to be okay with black people, but now fuck them,"
So
because
do you think it's fair,
that's
since
not
you're
okay.
looking at all these kind of pieces to sort of, build as best an argument as you can to the white supremacy claim? Do
Mm.
you think it's also fair then to look at the pictures beforehand where he was cleaning graffiti off of walls and then say, okay, look, clearly he was there because he cared about the property and the community?
It's possible he also did care about the property. Yeah, I'm not denying that. Look, people are really complex. People are really fucking like. This is the mistake that this is broadening out slightly, but this is a problem we always have, and it's the huge problem with internet discourse, is that people you imagine people in really simplistic ways so you can fit them into boxes, and I'd say you as in everyone. I do this as
Right.
well, of course.
Of course.
Whereas you know within yourself that you are a complex, multifaceted individual with conflicting opinions and fucking all manner of different beliefs and ideas and ideologies and all the rest of it.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that Kyle Rittenhouse is equally complex as well. I'm sure he was partly racist and partly not racist. I'm sure he did care about property and he partly didn't care about the property. I'm absolutely convinced he went there with violent intentions. I'm not sure he necessarily wanted to necessarily kill people, but I think he wanted to act like the big man, and it led to people dying.
Okay, but none of this at all proves that he's a white supremacist, or even like.
I literally said at the start,
But
you
no, no, no,
can't
no,
prove
because it
you
doesn't even
can't
like
prove
hell. It doesn't even lend to your claim. So, for
unless
example,
he
if you
walked on
said,
the
"I think
street
he's
zig
a,"
heiling. So
no.
what? I can't prove it.
Okay, come on. Now you're making a straw man here. I'm not saying you have to do that, but like, for example, if
No,
you
no, no.
said, "Hold on, wait, wait,
No, no.
wait," if
Let me
you
say,
said,
I wasn't suggesting that that was the standard you were setting. I'm saying that's the standard you would have to set to convince like lots of different types of people that this person is
if
a white
you gave
supremacist.
me, I
And very
understand, but
few
if
people even do that.
I got
You
you.
know,
But if you laid
even
out an
Marxists
argument
don't
and
do
said,
that.
I think that he may have been motivated by white supremacy, or he might be a white supremacist, and I said, Kevin, why is that? And you said, well, before the shooting occurred, you could look on his Facebook and he followed a ton of really far right pages. On top of this, he's made a couple different posts about how like black people are ruining Western culture or how black people commit a lot of crime. He then made a really sketchy post about supporting like the far right alt-righters, Proud Boys stuff. And then on top of this, he then joined some groups to go and be like a big man militia or something. If you told me something like that, or even gave me one example of a actual racist post that he made, or something that would suggest white
Okay, I
supremacy,
don't
you
know.
can't.
I
All
don't.
you have is the Blue Lives Matter thing.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, there's a certain amount of inference, and it's an incomplete picture, of course. But I'm suggesting, I would say, and again, it's from my own experience, the Blue Lives Matter people, as the fact that it was set up as a response to Black Lives Matter, it makes it fucking sus as anything. But the fact that lots of the people involved in that have expressed white supremacist tendencies, as far as I'm concerned. Now, that in of itself doesn't mean that anyone supports Blue Lives Matter is a white supremacist. I'm connecting that with the fact that he was really chummy with the Proud Boys and putting two and two together and coming up with the number four.
Gotcha. All right. It just, other than the Proud Boys thing, you like have not given me a single
I
shred
don't
of
know this
evidence.
lie.
No,
He's
no,
a
no, because
17
you
year
no,
old
no, no,
who's
because
done
you're
nothing.
like, well, I don't have a complete picture, but like, no, you don't
No
have a
one
picture
does.
at all. You
No
have him
one
being with
does.
the Proud Boys. Why don't you just say he hung out with the Proud Boys afterwards? And I think that he might be really like warming up to white supremacist
Okay,
ideology.
all right.
Why don't you say
Okay,
that? Or why don't you
let's
say
just
I
say
think
then,
he was
from my
just right
perspective.
wing? If you said
Okay,
he
from
was
my
right wing,
perspective, then, right? Would it make it any better if his murders weren't racist?
wait, could you say that again?
Would it make any difference if his murders weren't racially motivated?
Um, I mean, in the decision of whether or not he was acting
No,
in
no, not
self-defense.
legal. No, not the legal sense. I'm saying like morally. Let's say hypothetically he isn't a white supremacist in any way. Let's say he's the wokest motherfucker ever. Would that make the killings any better or worse?
I mean, I think it's self-defense. I think even if he is a full-blown racist, based on the facts of the
No, no,
matter,
no.
I think that he was acting in self-defense there. So,
I was just arguing the morality of it. I'm not arguing whether we've moved on from whether it was murder or not. I'm saying that whether he's a racist or not doesn't make the murders any better or worse, really.
sure, yeah, they're not murders, but the killings, yeah, they don't make them
Well, you know,
necessarily.
you decided. Why did they even bother
Well, no,
having a
because
trial?
you're
They should
using
have
your
just gone.
snowflake
They
definitions
should
where
have
you
just.
give
They
words
should have
different
just hung up
meanings.
Hunter Avalon. Hunter knows, so
Well,
they shouldn't have
I
even
don't
bothered
know,
with the
but the
trial. Why
dictionary
did
does, and you can read the definition of murder, and Kyle
they?
Rittenhouse doesn't
The
fall into that one.
dictionary does.
Yes, literally. Like, is that supposed to be an own? You're the one that's not reading the dictionary when you keep calling it murder.
Because a dictionary is just like a
The
static picture
unlawful
of what a word means in each
premeditated
different
killing of one human being by another. You realize the premeditation thing? Like, you realize I got blasted for calling Derek Chauvin a murderer, right? Because like it wasn't premeditated.
But he's literally a convicted murderer.
So
Doesn't that break your point somewhat?
no, I don't
Because
think.
if you're
I
saying
think he
if
was
you're saying it's not premeditated,
I think that he was convicted of homicide, right? It wasn't actually convicted of murder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
So
okay, I think
so that's all. It's
somewhat
just I think that we shouldn't be calling it murder when we don't really
I,
know. But based on what we do know, it certainly seems to be leaning far more into the role of self-defense there.
okay. Well, I mean, my prediction would be that he probably won't get done for murder, unfortunately.
Wait,
But that
people are
he
saying on Twitter
reckless
that
endangerment.
people are saying that you defended Michael Raynal.
Who?
Um,
Who
Kevin
I don't even
Logan
know.
on Twitter pushed a video on Twitter that defended an actual murderer, Michael Raynal. I think that was the guy that attacked the Trump supporter.
No, I pushed a video where Trump said that he sent federal officers to murder him.
Oh,
That was
okay.
the point I made. Yeah, because Trump
Yeah,
bragged about that.
yeah, the way the police acted in response to that was really
Yeah.
fucked up. But the actual dude, he committed murder. But
Well, maybe he did, yeah, but that
either
doesn't
way,
mean
it's just
he should have been given a trial and put in jail. Yeah,
yeah, sure.
Trump shouldn't just go brag about like, oh, yeah, I just did an extrajudicial murder. That's fine. Just killed an American citizen.
Okay,
Awesome.
so just to clarify, it could be like third or second degree murder.
Well,
So
like I said, one of
there
the
you go.
charges
Maybe
was
if you want to like be
reckless
super specific,
endangerment,
but
which I think it's a fair case for reckless endangerment, definitely. But again, the American legal system is somewhat broken, and I get that Britain's is as well. I'm not like arguing that it's fucking fine here either, but I think there are issues, to be honest. But I mean, ultimately, this is a fucking internet slap fest. Who cares?
I mean, I'm not even here to try to get on a slap fest necessarily. I just kind of wish we could have gotten a little further in the convo. It's just I have not been convinced about the white supremacy thing at all. And then as far as the provocation, I don't know, the videos,
I'll be honest with you.
the
I don't
timeline of
think
events, the law, it seems pretty
no
clear cut
one,
to me that it's self-defense. But
very few people who ever enter into these conversations ever change their mind. It's not. I don't even enter it trying to change the person I'm talking to's mind because I don't think most of the time they're interested in that. It's for the
yeah, but I would have been interested in hearing arguments as to why you believe him to be a white supremacist. And I just don't think that the Blue Lives Matter police cadet thing is like relevant at all. I feel like if you just threw that thing out and instead were like, hey, he was being really chummy with the white supremacist groups, the Proud Boys, you know, then that would probably be a pretty much better argument than like, well, he once posted Blue Lives Matter.
Okay, Hunter. Okay, he hung out with the Proud Boys. Does that convince you?
Well, what? That he might... Yeah, I already said that he might be leaning towards white supremacist ideologies now, but the reason I blocked you on Twitter was because you made me so mad by claiming he was like a far-right a-hole or some shit, or right-wing asshole or some shit, and I asked why you were getting that, and then you said...
Can I put triggered Hunter Avalon in my Twitter bio now?
I don't know. I don't know. Was I triggered or was it?
I mean,
I guess I got triggered for a second because what you said was just so mind-numbingly dumb that, like, again, I just don't think that, like, being part of the police cadets or posting Blue Lives Matter, these are not white supremacist things.
This not just in pushes... themselves. No, that is true. Not in of themselves. It's almost like I'm trying to draw a connection between two strands within one person's character. Yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah. Like, if someone was violent 10 years ago and they express a will towards violence now, is it wrong to suggest there might be a continuation of a violent thread within their character for the entirety of that 10 years?
I mean, if you said that he might have a violent character, then that would be different than the white supremacy claim.
No, well, it could be it could be, okay, a love of crochet. If someone said they loved crochet 10 years ago and they say it now, is it wrong to think that at least on and off during those 10 years they've been into crochet? It's a character situation. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, I mean, it's possible, yeah, but all right, Kevin. Well, whew, I don't think my brain can take much more.
High level ideas.
Yeah, high level ideas over here. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I enjoyed the slap fest with you. You know, I think you're wrong, but ultimately the jury's gonna decide, so we'll have to wait and see.
True. All right, man. Yeah, peace out.
See you, man.
Bye.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.